That's true. So, well, in Trinidad, there are a lot of underserved areas where like there's little kids, they don't have access to PCs or any kind of phones where they get access content. So now how would you as a content creator try to navigate and somehow get their attention? How would you like go about that?
As in getting them to be involved in?
And well, especially like since of course they lack of like a lot of they lack, how to say it, they don't know a lot about technology, but how would you go about?
I think there's a few things that we'd have to discuss when it comes to access to internet and just access to devices that are able to access the internet. In particular, I'd say something that I've noticed really helps is zero rating services. And that's basically subsidizing certain apps for usage. So let's just say WhatsApp, for example, if you just have a cell phone, and that's of course assuming that you have a device already, but just having the access to WhatsApp where you don't have to pay for data to be able to get it is something that is remarkable, right? And I think if that could be subsidized by advertising and more companies and cell phone providers, for example, or data providers, internet providers are able to do that, then we'd get more people having access to the internet, one, or at least the important apps. And obviously we have to talk about the aspect of reducing taxes because a lot of cell phone providers, internet providers, they refuse or they will, I guess, think twice about setting up or developing more infrastructure. And it's because of the taxes. So if we're able to reduce taxes and give people that opportunity and companies that incentive, then yeah, we'll find more rural areas will have internet access or even stronger and better internet access. So I think that's going to be a must. And also getting more of the corporate world involved in sponsorship of devices. If we're able to get more companies on board with programs to get devices to youth, get devices to even older people as well, who may not be on the internet or have access to the internet or access to these devices. If we're able to get the youth involved and get these companies involved with drives for devices, I think that would help.
Oh, nice. Well, that's a good thing too, because you notice like the internet, it's dynamic, right? Its growth is dynamic. So therefore you would have to accommodate for the different prices. Of course, you want to cater for different diverse groups and to make sure that the services that you're providing are affordable. So that's something good that you touched on. It's good.
Yeah, so of course you guys would have had a different perspective on internet governance from some of the amazing esteemed speakers that we've had, people who have probably been involved in internet governance and its counterparts for years. But you guys as new ones up and coming into internet governance, what advice would you give to the youths that may want to follow in your footsteps from a youth perspective?
I would say get involved, reach out to us, reach out and keep your eye out for all the initiatives that they are going on or that may be upcoming. I hope that this isn't the last Youth Internet Governance Forum and that this is just the start of something much more. There are also a number of opportunities. I remember Tyler had actually compiled a list of opportunities in the past in internet governance.
Basically, these different internet organizations such as Internet Society, ISOC, we also have RN, and also ICANN, they have fellowship programs where, again, ICT students could be able to, voice their ideas on their projects, and it could reach at a much more like a international level. So again, it's really broadcasting the ICT talents of the youths in the Caribbean.
And there's also this yearly sort of mentorship competition research drive called Lideris. I remember last year, some of my colleagues on my team had applied and had gotten a grant. And actually the mentor for that was Mr. Cassimire, the Deputy Secretary of the CTU. And they were able to, through his mentorship, through the mentorship of the University of the West Indies, work on a project over a few months, get that experience in the whole ICT sphere, network and interact and interview key players, not just from Trinidad and Tobago, but in the wider Caribbean. So you get not only the technical skills, the soft skills, but you also get that whole networking aspect of it. So actually, Mr. Rodney Taylor, when I met him in Rwanda, right before WTDC, he had told us how many opportunities there are out there. There's so many opportunities that, we just don't see. So I guess for youth, it would be, the advice I would have is to, if you're interested in the sector, keep looking, network, engage with the professionals in the sector. Who knows, maybe they might come across opportunities and share it with you, and, or share it with somebody that who can then share it with you. So that way you would have access to the opportunities, you'd be able to engage, interact, and get involved.
Right.
And of course, as well, if there's CC40 events happening, of course, in this semester, we will broadcast it in our SIDS Caribbean ICT Research Program Twitter page, as well as we have a mailing list, so you can hit me up at tyler.sudat@my.ue.edu.
Yeah, so Tyler was actually really involved. He led, essentially, over the past year, the coordination of this CC4D fireside chat discussions. And as he mentioned, it's not just one topic we look at. We don't only look at, say, satellites. We look at internet governance. We had the IORGs come in and chat with us. We had Michelle Marius, who was on Wednesday's panel from ICT Pulse. She came in and shared her journey. And it's really, for youth, a safe space where these students and these young professionals could come in and engage with professionals in the sector, these seasoned veterans, and feel comfortable enough to ask your questions, get your feedback, engage and interact, and sort of build that network and build this community.
Right. And what would you advise a youth, let's just say somebody who's very young in primary school, how would you advise them on actually learning about internet governance? Do you think it's important for them to at least know the fundamental principles of internet governance?
Well, introduce them to basically what are the do's and don'ts of how when using the internet.
Right, because we find like the usage of our internet now by kids is like YouTube, for example. Kids are on YouTube all the time, as in you'd find 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, even in that young age category, they're using the internet and they use it alone. You would see some of them using YouTube, I'm sure TikTok now too. But would you advise that they know about internet governance, or at least the principles of safety for internet usage?
Yeah, the principles of safety of internet usage. Again, we cannot really control what content the internet, what is put on the internet. So of course, teaching them about the guidelines, how to, and of course, there's also safety features and thing in Google that, you could put on safety modes. So
yeah, so I guess
educate parents.
It's not just the students in primary school, but their parents as well. Because really and truly, children at that young age, they'll be on devices, on YouTube, as you said, or on TikTok. But online safety is a big thing. And it isn't just for the children to know what to and not to do. Because the children, their parents need to be involved in it as well. So an outreach to the parents and teach them as well the do's and don'ts and how to properly supervise your child and ensure that their use of technology is done in a safe manner is a critical part of it.
And if you had the opportunity to speak to some of these platforms and these apps directly, would you like them to implement some more parental guides or safety guides for their kids on using these apps or platforms?
I think that's somewhat of a tricky question, because the app could go as far as they want in terms of putting the content out there, the guidelines, the recommendations. But really and truly, what you also need to consider for are the users. Even though there are all of these contents, all these tutorials out there, would the users really use them? So I think that a really critical assessment of how one would do that is needed in order to create proper tutorials, proper guidelines on how to use the app safely.
Agreed, yes. I could give you an example. I saw recently, I think it was on NBC, that Snapchat has decided to implement a parental control, a parental guidance feature due to the death of one of its users based on, I guess, bullying through chat. And they were saying it's basically a feature where parents would be able to monitor the chats, monitor the snaps that are sent through Snapchat. Do you think something like that could be effective, or do you think that kids would find a way around it?
Well, knowing this generation of kids, they seem to know all the tricks. But I mean, one good thing I think is a good idea. I don't know, but how about if we have like a YouTube Kids that only show like videos that are based on like for like kids age, instead of, you know, just allowing them to just go there and find things for themselves and they find the wrong things. So, you know.
So having
But
like
then
that.
again with TikTok
sorry.
too, right? Anything could just pop up, any video, which is scary as well.
And I'm sure a lot of people out there would know sometimes you find yourself going down a hole of content on YouTube with suggested videos that just keep going and going and going, and you start with one piece of content and end up in a totally different place.
Guilty.
Well, thank you guys so much. Special love to you guys, Tarek, and of course, Tyler, for joining us and having this youth discussion. It was really informative. So thank you guys. And I really appreciated the small talk.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. Okay, guys, let's head for a quick coffee break. Just a reminder, the Word Scramble prize is still up for grabs. Click on the Partners tab at the top of the page and you'll find 2 sub-tabs titled Internet Governance Forum and Partners. The virtual booths located in these tabs give information on the IGFs hosted this week and their partners. Hidden in these booths are the letters to form the word. Once you have collected all the letters, head on over to the engagement page to submit the word in the Word Scramble contest. Be the first to submit the word in the Word Scramble contest to win US $50 Amazon gift card. Yes. So this game is actually going to be open shortly, but only for 10 minutes. I know you don't need more time than that, but good luck. We'll be right back here on your SIDS-IGF. Welcome back to the SIDS-IGF. I'm DJ Anna. Ladies and gentlemen, we're on the home stretch. We will now explore issues surrounding SIDS-IGF access, connectivity, and inclusion. On this panel, we have Georgina Naigulevu from Fiji, Sarai Tevita Faleupolu from Samoa, Winifred Kula Amini from Papua New Guinea, and Teresa Horesova from Geneva. We now turn it over to Letitia Masaea, who will moderate this panel.
Thank you very much, Anna. As Anna, I'm from the Solomon Islands. I work for the Foreign Fisheries Agency and excited to be part of the first SIDS-IGF event representing the Pacific Islands chapter of the Internet Society that I volunteer for. As we all know, universal and meaningful connectivity is defined as the possibility for everyone to enjoy a safe, satisfying, enriching, productive, and affordable online experience. Over the past decade, and as previous speakers have mentioned, the number of internet users have significantly increased, but not everybody have access to the internet. I was looking through some reports, and in the ITU Facts and Figures 2021 publication and the Global Connectivity Report 2022, it was estimated that by the end of 2021, approximately 4.9 billion people, or 63% of the world's population, were online, including 64% of SIDS, compared to 85% in the Europe and 27% by LDCs. The COVID-19 pandemic was also a reason for the surge in internet use. However, this leaves 2.9 billion people still offline. Some of the statistics have also been echoed by Riad in the previous session. In the Pacific or SIDS region, we have better coverage and accessibility to the internet in urban regions compared to the rural region. And in a relatively short time, internet access technologies have changed, providing faster and more reliable options. The speed, cost, reliability, and availability of internet access depends on the region, internet service provider, and type of connectivity. To attain universal connectivity and access to technology or the internet, inclusivity is to integrate gender, disability, and geographical spread in some countries. Low-income earners and people living in remote areas is equally important. As Anna mentioned, today with me we have Georgina, Dr. Teresa, Winifred, and Sarai from Samoa, who will be sharing the insights on the topic access, connectivity, and inclusion. Our first speaker for today is Teresa. She works as the outreach manager of the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise, with focus on coordinating of regional activities, including the Forum's hub serving small island developing states in the Caribbean and the Pacific. Teresa, there was a mention of the Pacific hub in previous presentation, and I understand you are also a member of the IGF MAG. Please tell us more about the work you do and how prominent is the issue of access on the IGF agenda. Thank you.
Yes, Letitia, thank you very much for that. Thank you also to other panelists for joining of what I understand for everybody on this panel at quite non-typical working hours. Let's put it this way. It's late evening where I'm joining from and early morning for most of other panelists here. I would also like to congratulate the organizers of the Small Island Developing States Internet Governance Forum. It is really great. We have this happening, covering these important countries, and it's also great it's happening virtually because then more of us can participate. Small island developing states have a very special kind of place in my heart because before joining the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise, I was working for 10 years for DiploFoundation, which has had many projects in the Pacific Island states as well as in the Caribbean. And I still cherish the friendships and professional partnerships that we have built there. But today I would like to talk with you with my two other heads. One is, as you mentioned, Letitia, being the IGF MAC member, and the second head is working on regional activities for the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise. If you allow me, I have a very, very short presentation that I would like to share with you all. Let me just see if this works fine. Could we just confirm you can see my slides, Letitia?
Yes, I can see a slide. Probably
Okay.
just put it in presentation mode.
It should be in presentation mode. Is it now? Hopefully, yes. Okay, sorry. Okay. Yes, all good? Perfect. Thank you, Sarai, for the thumbs up. Very good. So let me start with the IGF. As you know, regional and national IGFs are extremely important to kind of complement and feed in to the work of the global IGF. And as an important kind of tasks of any MAC members is to actually prepare for the global IGF, kind of help shape the program, and also evaluate all the workshop proposals that are coming in. I would like to give you a little bit of an update of where we are. This session is meant to talk about access. And one of the main 5 IGF themes for this year is indeed related to access, entitled in the IGF lingo as connecting all people and safeguarding human rights. Now, this has been the most competitive stream or team of the IGF that the global community has been submitting their proposals on. So that I think also speaks about how important this is for in the community and for the agenda of the global IGF, because it was so competitive. Also compared to the other teams of the global IGF, most workshops falling under this theme actually got in. The number is 25, which is quite a big number. What I think is also ahead of us as a great opportunity is that in the coming weeks, the MAC will be charged to work on the main sessions. And each team of the IGF has a corresponding main session. And it's up to the MAC members and other members of the community who might be joining some of the working groups working on those sessions to kind of decide on what should be the angle to take, who should be the speakers, and kind of what message will be sent across. And I take it as a kind of an invitation that we might be trying to bring in the SIDS dimension. I encourage not only the current MAC members who are from small island developing states, and I will get to that later, but also other members of the community who are already involved or want to get more involved in the IGF to consider joining actually one of the teams and shaping what the global IGF will bring to the table. I will now jump on the MAC composition, which is kind of at the bottom of this slide, because I just brought it up. MAC members are appointed by the UN Secretary General based on a nomination. And obviously, because this is a UN undertaking, there are quite important criteria that need to be taken into account on the kind of regional balance, gender balance, stakeholder balance, and similar. That is quite obviously favorable for representation of countries like small island developing states. But at this moment, there are only kind of few members from these countries on the MAC: Bahamas, Comoros, Fiji, and Tuvalu. On the 5th of September, so just a few days from now, there will be the deadline for nominations for a new MAG member. So always one part of the MAG kind of rotates. And I encourage those of you listening to this session to maybe consider nominating somebody from your communities for this function. I also want to make a note, because we are just a few days after the announcement of the IGF leadership panel, which would kind of bring the IGF at the level of attention of high-level policy global leaders, that for that there is no representation from any small island developing states. But this is a very small body, so in this case, maybe it is not as shocking and surprising. So that's on the IGF, and then obviously, if there are any questions or ideas, I would be happy to talk about it later. Now, taking off my MAG hat, IGF MAG hat, and going a little bit more to my current work at the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise. So it is a forum, a platform that unites over 170 members and partners with many governments, but also other stakeholders being part of the community. The main idea is to kind of assist in more efficient coordination of cyber capacity building efforts. And the forum has been very active in regions of the world. But what we started feeling is a necessity is that it is not appropriate that from the Netherlands, where the forum is located, kind of there would be work conducted to all global regions, because we need to be much more sensitive to the very specific needs of various regions. And we feel that there is a need for real presence in these regions. And that is why we have kind of started planning in various stages of development, establishing of real hubs in 4 of global regions: Africa, Southeast Asia, and what is of particular interest, I hope, for the audience of this panel is one in the Pacific Island states and one in Latin America and the Caribbean. So these are 2 hubs that are already in existence, and we hope that some more dedicated regional focused activities will really make a difference. From the current members, as when it comes to governments of the GFC, I have noted which are already members of the platform: Dominican Republic, Mauritius, and PNG. And we hope that also our presence in the region will bring more countries on board. The partnership kind of, the membership is for free. Yes, it's us providing the service to the members and partners, but obviously it also depends to what level in these countries it is acknowledged how important cyber capacity building is. Now, one event that I would like to bring to your attention for our Latin American Caribbean hub is on the 18th of November during the Cyber Festival in the Dominican Republic. We will have a regional meeting, so really a meeting specifically targeted to discuss cyber capacity building priorities for the region of Latin America and the Caribbean. In the Pacific, my dear colleagues, Sherry Lagakale and Saya Vaipuna from Tonga and Sherry from Fiji are the staff members running the Pacific hub that was kind of appointed just a few weeks ago. Now, one possible resource that the GFC has prepared for the community that I feel might be in a way useful is the so-called Civil portal. When you Google Civil portal or when you go to the GFC website, you will be able to get some information on that. And what this portal actually provides is a kind of overview of all various not all projects, it's not exhaustive in this sense, but quite a serious number of projects and resources of activities that have already been done. Why is this important? Because as you might have experienced also from your work, there is often not that much communication or coordination among donors and implementers about what work and cyber capacity they are providing, and thus being aware of what others have done can serve to less duplication of efforts and kind of more efficiency in terms of building on what other projects have been done. What I want to highlight as one of my last points is that we are talking here about access. We are talking about the development related issues. And often development is discussed quite separately from cyber or cybersecurity issues. And we feel this is a mistake. Yes, it should be kind of brought together and discussed together. That's why we will be organizing in early 2023 a global conference that will try to connect these two discourses and connect these two communities. And what I personally can promise to really push for is having more perspectives from small island developing states. That there will be a focus on the global south countries is absolutely without doubt. But we hope also, thanks to our work in the hubs, that we will bring much more SIDS perspective there. I have named some of these pillars of the conference here, but I really hope that the community also attending this SIDS-IGF will kind of pay close attention to the preparations and of course hopefully participate. I will stop here because my time has kind of passed. I'm really looking forward to the inputs, of course, from you, Letitia, leading this discussion, and other panelists, and to the discussion at the end. At this point, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Our next speaker is Winifred Kula, joining us from Papua New Guinea, who has been in several executive and consulting roles in business innovation, project management, and software engineering. Winifred is passionate about making a positive impact using technology, building through collaboration partnerships, and awareness through the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And through a collaboration with global software engineering researchers, recently published an academic paper. Let's hear more from you, Winnie. Thank you.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Good morning from Papua New Guinea, and good afternoon to all of you in the Caribbean. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so grateful to be part of the first Small Island Development States Forum, IGF. In terms of my presentation or insights, I'm just going to give a brief rundown on the context of the Papua New Guinea economy, and then talk about some of the challenges in relation to our infrastructure and contextualizing the internet costs, and then talk about some challenges related to education and trust. And despite these challenges, talk about the emergence of a local software engineering community in Papua New Guinea, and how the PNG Digital ICT Cluster, which I'm a part of, is advocating for change within our digital ecosystem. And it's through the collaborations with government, with our universities and industry, that we believe we provide a unique platform in terms of digital clusters. So just a brief background in terms of the PNG Digital ICT Cluster. It was concepted, or it was established in 2014 through a EU program in the Pacific Islands to promote the concept of clusters and how clusters provide that opportunity to accelerate both economic and social growth. So this came out of PIPSO, which is the Pacific Islands Private Sector Organization. And in Papua New Guinea, when that study was completed, ICT came out as the sector that provided the most potential. And it's been since 2014 that the PNG Digital ICT cluster has been promoting and advocating for changes in policy and promoting ICT development in the country. So just going back to the context of PNG, PNG is the largest Pacific islands, for those of you that don't know PNG, and it's one of the most diverse in human cultures and language. We have 87% of our population that live in rural and remote places in PNG, and our population is around 9 to 11 million. Of that 9 to 11 million, internet access is only 30% of the population, compared to our neighboring country, Fiji, which is 84%. So there has been some efforts in terms of improving internet access with the recent Coral Sea cable from Australia. However, it's still very expensive, slow, and the rates are quite high for a lot of our people in the country. In terms of the importance of schools and universities having access, not a lot of the schools have access to the internet in the country, and most of our people here think of the internet as Facebook. So those are some of the areas and some of the infrastructure challenges that we have in the country. In terms of contextualizing the internet cost, based on our study in the academic paper and some of the research that was done by some of the global software engineers, our lower middle income class poverty line is around 325 kina per month, according to the World Bank. So in terms of like 30 gigabytes for 30 days, that's already the cost of 46% of that monthly income for a lot of our people in that lower middle income bracket. In terms of education and trust, I graduated from the computer science program in 2000. And one of the challenges that we've had since then, that's roughly around 20 years ago, is that the curriculum has not been updated. And that is the issue that where we've been kind of challenged by. So part of us advocating is trying to make sure that the schools and the university curriculum is actually in par with what industry is using, or what practitioners are using. So getting that balance is a challenge. And in terms of trusting local entrepreneurs or local content creators, part of the issue of that education and trust is that because there's not a lot of local talent that's been out there in terms of promoting their career paths or promoting their entrepreneurship ventures. Part of that issue is because it's not there, it hasn't been fostered. We still have that dependency of looking out to procure software or procure digital marketers or how should I put it, digital marketing or marketing efforts. So that balance between education and trust is a really important bit. But despite these challenges, we see that there is an opportunity because there is a lot of talent out there in Papua New Guinea, and part of the opportunity that we see when it comes to the adoption of platforms or software in the country is that a lot of these products that are off the shelf need to be customized to our local settings. And some of those examples are in terms of our tax system. Some of the off-the-shelf products don't fit in our ecosystem. So a lot of customization has to be done. Also within government. So some of the opportunities that the cluster is part of is is now going into MOU with our government in terms of the Department of ICT and looking at a clustering policy to help promote and foster local software developers, especially, and also content providers. Yeah, so that's in terms of education and trust and about promoting local software engineering. And I see that with the paper that we've published is that the opportunities are also similar with other small island nations, where software developers, if we have policies that promote local developers to provide local solutions, this also helps the entrepreneurs. And that's just another way of being inclusive, especially with COVID. When COVID hit our country, we found that a lot of SMEs were struggling, and because of our behaviors or practice to always purchase outside, sometimes it's those issues that when we're not investing in our local talent, the seriousness of these kind of threats tend to be much more harder on the local economy or the local entrepreneurs. And that's why it's important that we need to be inclusive in terms of our solutions and also our policies. So I also wanted to mention, while I have this opportunity, some of the technical developments that the cluster has also contributed to in terms of policy. And the two biggest ones has been the contribution to the Electronic Transmission Act, where a lot of the foundational policies to promote internet usage or more e-commerce within the country requires legislation. So the ETA was passed in Parliament. I think that was in 2020. Yes, sorry, can we just go back? And in terms of the Digital Government Act, that was also passed in government. And what we're working on is to create that national cluster policy where we can be more inclusive with promoting local talent and developing our local ecosystem. Also, in terms of the work that we do to support women and youth in the internet economy, we run annually Tech Innovate conferences, and we launched our first hackathon into 2020 as well, where we work with youths to help them in terms of identifying problems that are related to the UN SDG goals and looking at innovative solutions. So teaching them how to identify a problem and how to pitch. We also within the country, we don't have that very investment culture. We don't have business angels. So in terms of venture capital, that is very limited. So the behaviors of our entrepreneurs is really dependent on family and friends for investment or getting a loan. And most times, a lot of our startups or SMEs just don't qualify to be able to secure a loan. And the most recent initiative that we will be launching next week is the launch of our Define Business Skills Program for women entrepreneurs. So the Define initiative means, it stands for Developing Financial Markets for Enterprises in the Pacific Islands. So the Define initiative is a private sector collaboration between three core proponents. So that's our PNG Stock Exchange, the PNG Digital ICT Cluster, and Uncapped, which is a venture capital firm in Sydney, to help boost business skills in Papua New Guinea. So the Defined Skills Program is actually funded by CIGF under their Rapid Finance Facility project, and it's dedicated to supporting women entrepreneurs in PNG with business and financial and digital skills. So we're happy to start the launch next week. We're looking at training 300 women with the foundational skills in terms of financial literacy, business literacy, and digital literacy. And then we'll move into our intermediate and our advanced program to support or give a pathway to these women entrepreneurs to be able to grow their business. And that's something that we really need in the country, and we need a lot of investment in promoting local innovators and entrepreneurs as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Winifred. Our next speaker is Georgina Naigulevu, joining us from Fiji. She previously served as senior manager at the HFC Bank, where she oversaw applications, projects, and innovation. Georgina co-founded the Mobile Me Mapathon app, a community project in partnership with the Fiji Disabled People's Federation. She is currently the project manager, digital and health information, with the Australian government's Fiji Program Support Facility. According to WHO, the three main core areas of e-health are delivery of health information for health professionals and health consumers through the internet and telecommunications. Welcome, Georgina, and let's hear more from you with your involvement on digital health and information.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much, Leti. Greetings to you all from Fiji. It is an honor and a blessing here to share my local story, which I only hope and pray has meaningful impact that would be useful to answering your questions raised today. As I reflect and appreciate the global technological advancements that have happened with regards to the growth of the internet and its governance over the years, the internet has become a critical infrastructure to our global health sector. To put things into perspective of my story, during the 1940s in America, there was groundbreaking research in the facility of orthopedic medicine that was done by Dr. Ponseti, who had created a method that would become today the gold standard for the treatment of clubfoot. For those of you who do not know what clubfoot means, clubfoot is a common birth defect of a baby's foot. It is when one or both feet are twisted inward and pointing downward. Left untreated, clubfoot can lead to inability to walk, infection, and chronic pain. The Ponseti method is a great alternative to past painful clubfoot surgeries that decrease the patient's quality of life done in the past. As a newborn in Fiji during the 1980s, I have not one but two club feet and underwent the painful surgery from birth to primary school. As continuous treatment from different consulting doctors, where my parents had to take care of my medical record at that time, which were purely paper-based, carrying your discharge summaries and medical file record from place to place. The use of telephones was highly privileged and costly to get updates or referrals from health professionals that had us waiting in long queues was a norm. Hopefully, there are those of you in the audience that can relate to my story during those pre-internet days. Fiji, as a SIDS nation, has a diversity of cultures and maritime islands. During early 2000, I lived in my remote native island, Rutuma, which would take you 3 days to travel by boat to the north of Fiji, and medical supplies shipped would be around once in every 2 to 3 months. I did not have proper footwear. That as much as I enjoyed the feeling of sand and sea, the scars from scrapes from against stone and coral cuts had me rely on traditional medicine from my community as a primary care for my immediate needs. This reliance, due to lack of supplies, also may be relevant to rural remote areas in SIDS. 2004, Fiji went to broadband, and the growth of interest in mobile phones as well as internet increased. It was my best time as a young IT enthusiast in computing science and information systems to learn and develop software as well as to grow in the ICT career. Present day, thanks to advances in medicine and technology, most cases of clubfoot are easily treatable without surgery. In Fiji, I can see early detection and improved care of newborns with clubfoot being treated with the Ponseti method, which is a great improvement with the onset of the internet and collaboration. Seeing the checkups now and referrals of continuum of care and rehabilitation that are monitored by doctors, nurses, community health workers to keep track of appointments that are either printed out or digitally stored. We are still yet in that phase here in Fiji where we still keep paper copies. There are also innovative assistive devices now for the different types of disability, which is what one of the projects that I have always been passionate about is around assistive technology and ensuring that we are able to have a better quality of life. Since the onset of internet, a wealth of information online to help doctors, clinicians, researchers collaborate and innovate together for better patient care and public health. The use of electronic exchanges by email, instant messaging, and dialogues that happen now reduce those waiting times in the corridors are better than before. However, there are still rooms for more improvement. Yes, e-health is the cost-effective and secure way of ICT in support of health and health-related fields. However, I'd like to draw your attention to digital health, which expands the concept of e-health to include digital consumers with a wider range of smart and connected devices. It also encompasses other uses of digital technologies for health, such as the Internet of Things, advanced computing, big data analytics, artificial intelligence, including machine learning and robotics. Digital health is understood to mean the field of knowledge and practice associated with the development and use of digital technologies to improve health. With such well-defined definitions, and in the event of the pandemic, which has served as an accelerator for digital, I feel that it is still deepened the digital divide amongst us on access, connectivity, and inclusion. The bandwidth of activities required for the digital economy for SIDS vary depending on the digital infrastructure, investment, and financing for healthcare. Quality of connectivity is critical as a backbone for a number of industries, including healthcare. There is a thirst for data-driven decision-making that helps not only researchers, but epidemiologists that study outbreaks of diseases, the causes, locations, and how various communities are affected, utilizing relevant information to aid in the prevention of future outbreaks. This is what we are facing today, and the important role of what digital has done to make sure that we are able to coordinate better. The work that I do in Fiji is working closely toward the development of a national digital health strategy for the next 5 years. And being part of this consultative process and understanding the current state to help map out what the needs are for digital future in healthcare. I just would like to share with you and highlight some of the important work that was done by WHO and ITO when they developed in 2012 the National E-Health Strategy Toolkit, which is an expert practical guide that provides governments, their ministries, and stakeholders with solid foundation and methods for the development and implementation of a national e-health vision, action plan, and monitoring framework. I would advocate and encourage all countries, regardless of their level of development, to adopt those toolkits for your own circumstances. And also in the recent 2020 at the World Health Assembly, there was an adoption of the WHO Global Strategy on Digital Health for 2020 to 2025 to present the roadmap to link the latest developments in innovation in digital health and put these tools in action to improve health outcomes. However, in Fiji, we still have those challenges in terms of the workforce and the understanding around digital health and the ICT fraternity to ensure that we are well provisioned with the expertise and the capability to service the health sector. The health sector comes with it a lot of different complexities, and majority of it is around health and the life. So, for example, just to give you an example, the interoperability of your medical devices to your main electronic medical health record to be able to provision and treat patients as they are being diagnosed, or as you're viewing a image of an X-ray. In the middle of it, you have the ICT professional who has to have the skill sets in networking, but more specialized in the IP addressing to make sure that all the medical devices are well connected and that they understand the network topology of how things are placed, and that when there are issues that they are able to fix those things. This is something that we don't have much capability here in Fiji, but I think with a lot more partnerships and a lot more advocacy in digital health to improve the workforce requirement, and to also look at not simplifying the fact of ICT, but to also do a deep dive into different abilities or different local talents that we could encourage in terms of sustaining our healthcare system. Because as you know, we are hit with a big pandemic, but we are also hit with a lot of loss of skill sets, as well as trying to struggle to make sure that we are able to deliver healthcare to the best of our abilities. So I think that is what I can share personally, and I hope it has been of impact to you, and happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you so much, Gina, and good to hear from you about digital health. Our next speaker is Sarai Faleupolu Tevita, joining us from Samoa. Sarai is the Information Communication Technology Director at the University of Samoa and is also an active member of the Samoa Information Technology Association. You will know that Samoa was one of the Pacific countries that recently had community transmission of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has affected day-to-day living and the way students access education. Sarai, please tell us more about this, and welcome to our session today.
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. Thanks, Talo Falava from Samoa, and greetings to you all. Thanks for inviting me to participate in this panel. Thanks, Leti and the team, as well as part of this first SIDS-IGF virtual conference. For my presentation this morning, according to the question that has been given to me, is the effects of the recent pandemic to education in terms of access, connectivity, and inclusion during the post and COVID-19. Prior to the pandemic, I think this applies to all the nations, especially this. is still a lack of access to the internet. That didn't necessarily prevent children from receiving an education, both able and those with special needs. But since COVID-19 upended education systems across the globe, the link between schools and personal connectivity to quality education is increased in terms of accessibility. But the quality of connectivity and affordability is still the same problem here in the Pacific Islands. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, about 1.6 billion children globally were affected by school closures. I quoted that from the World Economic Forum. So during this time, during the lockdown, there was totally a shift of ways the educators, how to deliver and engage with their students, as well as colleagues within the education sector to their stakeholders and vice versa. The context has opened opportunities and it brought challenges as well during this time of hardship. We have noticed from our technical team, because we were providing the support to our university, to our students, both students and staff. So we noticed that some students and parents and educators, those who access to digital connectivity, achieved their agenda wherever and whenever they are, if it's possible. Unfortunately, there are many, many students, parents, and educators who couldn't access the digital tools needed, or the connectivity wasn't able to sustain their learning, are now at risk of being left further behind without COVID-19 compounding the divide. Even though the video conferencing tools were being around for many years, but when we got hit by the COVID-19 restriction, this tool was dramatically increased its use in the education sector, as well as other sectors, because I've taken Samoa as an example. When it was locked down, Zoom was one, video conferencing and Zoom was one of the tools that government agencies and other private sectors, that's the only way they communicate and try to continue their business daily. So say I'll take a National University of Samoa as an example. Before we go to lockdown, or before we got hit by the pandemic, COVID-19, our audiovisual staff or AV staff, they are the ones that responsible for opening the classrooms, setting up the projectors and AV equipment for lectures. However, when we got hit by COVID-19 pandemic, ICT support staff was responsible for opening of online classrooms using the Zoom. This to ensure that the Zoom schedule of each courses or classes are on schedule, and then transfer the host to the lecturer if they want to record it or not, or share their screen. So during this time, there were about 10 or more classes running at the same time. It was fortunate for the university to buy the Zoom license, multiple Zoom licenses. I think we have 20 Zoom licenses to cater for that. But before the lockdown, we only have 5, because that meaning only for meetings, for conferences, but not meaning for the classes. So it was fortunate that this pandemic hit us globally. So it gives us benefits, opportunities to grow in terms of engaging and use of the ICT, but also we bear in mind that there are challenges come with this technology. Just to add on that, because that covers the education sector as well, we have the TVET of those providing the technical vocational training courses. Those are the ones that face lots of problems because they don't access to any learning management system or any learning platform. Like the university, we use the Moodle, the learning management system, to continue to deliver the courses and engage with the students. Before, we both use we use the hybrid, but when it comes to lockdown, it was a fully online. So the university and the staff were pushed to move all the courses online so that they can access from outside of the campus. So it's the opportunity that gives with this lockdown, and maybe there's another pandemic, is an opportunity for people to reconsider their priorities, especially different sectors because of their nature. Their priorities, the internet was an enabler for them to continue business. It's the same as education. Without the internet at this time of the pandemic, we couldn't continue our, deliver the teaching that's supposed to be delivered in the classroom, because what we did, we tried to use the timetable when they go into the classrooms to be transferred into the online. So it was a busy time for the IT people to provide that support. So it's another way for us, the management as well, in any education sector, any education setup, to reconsider prioritizing of the way they deliver the teaching, the way they deliver their learning. So with the internet available, it's a must for all, especially with any sectors. The telcos as well, they need to play their part as well. The collaboration between the education sectors and the providers, our stakeholders, the parents as well, because they are the ones supporting the students, providing what is needed for the students to access. Because digitally, there is a record of students being left out because they don't access to the proper or the appropriate digital device to access the courses. So that's one of the main problems, is the device that the students access is the problem to access the courses available. What I meant is that some students, they only have cell phones or smartphones, but they can't type their assignments, they can't type their work. That's different from a person with the computer. So that's will have more advantage than those who only access that through the cell phone. But in general, I think the other hand, those who don't have access to the internet those are disadvantaged ones. However, the university and the education sectors, they were trying their best to use other forms. So they used their group chat, their chat groups. They're still using FP messengers to push through the message so that to continue learning from home. But there is a contribution to the economy. We've been noticed that procurement of the internet data, it went up by households, because that's the main way of accessibility is the internet data using the SIM cards for our students and even our people as well to continue the engagement. And also the increase of procurement of proper equipment. For example, a proper software, we need to update it ours. Even the server side, we need to be on top of updating the batches remotely, because that's the time when we lock down, though everything has to work remotely. We also consider the security of our servers that we provided. We only give out the VPN to the relevant and authorized staff. So all this work being done remotely needs to be reconsidered, the reprioritization of work within any organization, same as education. So just to add on how we mitigate those problems we faced is we rearrange our priorities from the classroom to the online, because no one figured out that there's a pandemic and a long term of lockdown. So everything has to change. We changed the policies, we reshuffled our procedures, the plans, and also the involvement of stakeholders. We collaborate and engage with them so that we can sing the same song. Even though that we want this to move forward, but if we don't bring in the parents of the students, even the community and even the lecturers as well, so that they're familiar with the technology we're using. So if we can't move forward. So the other problem is the digital illiterate of our people, especially here in the SIDS. Because of the accessibility to these devices and to the technology, and there's a limited awareness of how to use it. That's the other problem that imposes them to access this technology. Lately, the education sector just approved its education sector strategic framework that addresses the 4 capabilities that education is moving towards to. One, we call it a digital future skills marketplace, data transparency, technology essential, and digital workforce. So now it's in the pipeline. So for our education sector, it consists of the Ministry of Education, Sports and Culture, Samoa Quality Authority Unit, and National University of Samoa. So those are the 3 IAs that we work together, put together this digital framework for education for the way forward, because this is the way it is. We're gonna move with it as long as we have the knowledge of the know-how, do the do's and don't. So I think that's it's the way to go. So we need to evolve both people and technology to get that fair idea. And we say all along what we have, but with understanding and aware of what the internet can do better for our living. I think I'll stop here, Leti, and I can answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarai. And that is a very interesting presentation on how Samoa has been going on handling online education during the pandemic season. If I can ask, is there any questions on the chat? Otherwise, I'm opening the session for question and answer. If anyone has any questions for the panelists, you are welcome to share this with us. Okay, so there is no question for the moment. I'll come back to you, Teresa.
You called on me, Letitia? Yes, did I get it right?
Yes. I guess I was calling on you. You've encouraged SIDS representatives to start nominating for new MAG members. You also mentioned that there were no representatives from SIDS in the policy level, which is not at the policy level. But as member to the MAG, what are your thoughts around increasing the SIDS input within MAG apart from the nomination?
Mm-hmm. No, thank you very much for this question. And, I also want to, if you allow me, react quickly to the previous presentations, which I think were excellent in the sense that it showed kind of the breadth of access-related, digital policy-related, cyber-related issues. So, all the scopes we've heard, be it education, health, and similar, were extremely relevant for this discussion. Now to your question, Letitia, on MAG. So obviously the number of MAG members is limited. Yes, it's a group of 40, if I'm not mistaken, members of the community. And as I said, there has to be this regional stakeholder, gender, etc. representation. The good news is that there are currently MAG members from small island developing states, and some of them, and I will not name, are among the active ones. Yes. So really having, let's say, a footprint on what the IGF is doing. I now don't have in my head exactly the data on which current MAG members from small island developing states are actually finishing their mandate and need to be replaced. But I certainly, once again, do encourage members of the community to consider, being nominated and put forward, because there are practical ways how MAG members can really influence the agenda. Yeah, so if I just talk a little bit about some elements that could really leave a mark for small island developing states. MAG members help decide what will be the main themes, what will basically be the focus. MAG members decide on or help shape the criteria for selection of workshops and to what extent they are in line with the themes. MAG members shape the main sessions, which are kind of the most high-profile, visible, sessions, usually with the highest level speakers. In the past, we have had as high-level speakers as heads of state, for instance, speaking at this, or heads of government speaking at these main sessions. Yes, so this would be really a good way how MAG members, if active, can really shape and bring more attention to the very specific needs and perspectives of small island developing states. Now, your question was also on the IGF leadership panel that was just announced a few days ago, where I said that there was no representative from a small island developing states, but really this is a very small group. It is also the first formation of this leadership panel. It is unclear at this stage whether it will kick off and really feel the potential that many are kind of hoping for or expecting, meaning that it will also elevate the importance of the Internet Governance Forum among global policy makers. So that remains to be seen, yes, but it doesn't mean that if we don't have a SIDS representative in the IGF leadership panel, that the SIDS don't have opportunities how to really impact. And once again, I said it at the beginning, the fact that there is a SIDS IGF is also a step in excellent direction.
Thank you so much, Tevita. I think we have a question from Nigel. Please, if you can ask a question.
Thank you very much, Letitia. Nigel Cassimire from CTU. Mine is not very specific to the presentations that have been put forward in this session. It's more of a general cultural question as regards the Pacific Islanders and certainly in ICT. The majority of the persons we've had presenting, and even with whom we worked in the organizing committee and preparatory work for this IGF, were women. And I'm wondering if that is representative of the ICT sector in the Pacific region or not, or if it was just coincidental.
Coincidental? I think most of us on this panel, if I can speak for, I started off and then Sarai and Gina can add on. We were we are members of the Pacific Islands chapter, Internet of the Society. So we do represent women in ICT in our previous own countries. So Sarai is with the Samoa IT Association. I'm with the Women in IT Solomon Islands. And Gina was a former vice president of the PKSOC Society. And I think it's a network in the Pacific. We got pulled into the Pacific Islands chapter as well. So you can say that we are also representing women in ICT in our national countries.
So
Gina and
you would
Sarai,
say,
if you have something to add on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just to add on what Leti said, we are here for the Pacific chapter, Internet chapter, and for Samoa, we have few women in ICT, and that is one of our, our challenge, not really a challenge, because they all took computing courses when they were in secondary school, in UBY or the foundation. So when they step out of education and go to the workforce, that's where when we see that some women that goes to the administration side, those fields, but limited on the technical side. But still, there are women out there that still pursuing with the ICT field, which is myself was one of the. I was the youngest in those days when I joined the Samoa IT Association back in 2002, I think. I forgot now. It's more than 20 years in the service. So, excuse me. So, and I joined, there were only 2 or 3 women. So we tried, well, for now we have 20. We have 20 in the Samoa IT Association, and yes, I'm really proud of what we've gone so far. And we also have been involving with the World Wide Web Foundation Pacific Scorecard. We used that here in Samoa, identified why the little number of women in the ICT field. There is no barrier in terms of accessibility. It's just that there's a lot of factors affecting or impacting the culture and the social factors. Those are the ones that, that, but not really technically say that women can't take this ICT field. So that's my 2 cents to this discussion. Thank you.
That's correct, Sarai. There are very few of us ICT women in the Pacific Islands. So one of the activities that women in IT Solomon Islands are pursuing as well is awareness and advocating ICT to the younger generation. And I think this is the same for Tonga women in ICT, to try and convince them and try and get them to come down the path of IT, showing them what are the opportunities out there, the career paths, and try to pull them into this ICT world. Because as Sarai said, there's not many of us in the ICT field. Georgina, if you want to say something.
And even if you are for women with disability in the ICT field, coming from Fiji, I know that I'm currently the only lady who has been an IT manager and a software developer for the country at the moment. But just trying to also see that we're leveraging off the strength of each of the women in the Pacific. It's the interest that we've seen in each other. And I think under the Pacific Islands chapter, it's just learning and trying to leverage and lift each other up to sort of get our groups going. I know that the challenge right now is around the gender for the ICT in Fiji. It's still not as many women who pioneer things ahead. But I think it's the leap of faith that we actually get or encouraged when we see a region of women come together and sort of start to champion some of the hardest topics. So that's something that I think the Pacific is good at, and that is the power that we have as a community. Thank you so much.
Well, the women in the Pacific have good role models to follow.
Thank you, Nigel. Is there any more questions in the chat group? No? Okay, I have one for Winifred. What is your observation? You mentioned something on lower middle income poverty line, and then you mentioned something on initiatives, define initiatives with business skills. What is your observation or any impact you may foresee with this initiative, especially with regards to women and youth? With regards to access, devices, literacy, digital literacy, that will be rolled out.
Okay, so maybe I'll just start off in terms of Nigel's question, in terms of women in STEM, especially in the PNG economy. It's still underrepresented in formal employment, and as volunteer entrepreneurs or IT professionals, one of the opportunities we had is when we get together as Pacific Islanders, we're given opportunities to connect, and that's how I met Maureen and was also able to be on the board for PIC ISOC. Their digital transformation or digital platforms provide a great opportunity for women. And part of our education or skills program is to reach out to as many women that we can to give them that foundation of literacy in terms of business literacy, financial literacy, and then digital literacy. So we're trying our best to kind of reach that gap, as we understand that with COVID, a lot of our SMEs, and especially the women, were impacted, and they're still going through that recovery phase. So there's still a lot of work in terms of their education on how to run business, because that's what we're really promoting as a digital cluster, is to promote women to, after you have a career in IT, or if you have a career or you don't, for those that don't have that opportunity in terms of education, at least they have the lifelong skills to be entrepreneurial and be able to sustain that themselves. And having access to internet, having access to platforms that will support their initiatives is something that we believe is really important to change these women, their lives. So I hope I answered the question, Letitia. In terms of the reason why we're doing this is because a lot of our people are below that middle income range, and it's important that they're given the tools and the skills to be able to translate or to convert them into a more formal business, and to be able to have a more prosperous and kind of lifestyle, especially now that we're in the 22nd century, and being a very agriculture-dominated country, it's just giving these people the tools and, as I said, the platforms to be able to access information, not only information, but access investors so that they can be able to do what they need to do. Thanks, Letitia.
Thank you so much, Winifred, for that. I think there was a question that from Colonel Lake asked, how large are the women in ICT groups that you are a member of? I think for Winnie, probably you can go ahead, and then Sarai, and then Gina, and then I can add on to it too.
Okay, so I'm part of the Women in STEM, which the founder is Priscilla Kevin. She's also the founder of, co-founded the PNG Digital ICT Cluster with myself. And as I mentioned earlier, in terms of the formal employment, it's still below 30%. So a lot of the women that are in ICT normally come from the banks and the telecommunication companies. And when we do run our events, we get to around 100 to 150 women that attend. But, with COVID happening for the last two years, a lot of our not-for-profit organizations, because we're a not-for-profit, even the Women in STEM, a lot of the membership, everyone's been just focusing on themselves and, just being able to, how should I put it, just get over the COVID impact that has, for us in PNG, like COVID has really impacted some of our families, like for myself as well, like I lost my dad and my sister. And these are some of the kind of realities that we have to kind of kind of manage. So it's very few women that are actually driving the associations, the not-for-profit, but in terms of the membership for women in ICT, it's still small. For the women in entrepreneurship, it's much larger. So we get to connect with the larger women in business or women in entrepreneurship groups, which have a membership of over like 5,000 women that are part of that membership. And it's really where that like-mindedness, women that are actually to kind of step up and volunteer, that we get to be able to make an impact. But it's still, for us, it's still about fostering and cultivating the interest and getting more women to participate in our associations. Yep.
Thank you, Winnie. I think Sarai did mention that there were around 40 of them for Samoa. Probably Gina.
I'm actually part of I think about 5 different women groups that are affiliated with ICT, mainly because for the women that I have in ICT and mainly across the financial and banking sector as well as government, but we formally meet up, and that is just only a handful of women. That really is rare. Also, I'm part of the Innovation for Change, and there we advocate as well with the Global South, just looking towards innovation for civil societies and making sure that we use tech. So that is even smaller, and but the biggest one, I guess, is PISOC, and the advantages of joining the PISOC at a regional level is that you get to interact with a lot more people and share experiences across the region on the challenges as well. So I guess in a nutshell, Fiji has a lot of different individual groups, and also another group that I am part of as well is around entrepreneurship. So that's something that we still have yet to see pick up in terms of digital entrepreneurship. But as you scatter around, you also have the women in cyber that is only even on you can count it on your hand. But what I hope to see as part of the digital health sector, we do have a Pacific information network, and the women that I work with are around 20 ladies around data analytics. So it's surprising that you see a lot more data analytics, whether it's in banking or finance, or in the health sector, it's around data management. So I find that I meet more women in ICT around that sector than I do in the engineering sector for networking and networking or connectivity or IP addresses and telecom. But there are women in those sectors as well. So I guess, like the sharing across different groups is key, but mainly what I find with the women that lead a lot of the activities in ICT in Fiji are the ones that actually go out and take those opportunities to foster that. So I hope to see a better number come out from Fiji soon. But if it isn't, I guess this is where we come together and push that somehow. But thank you.
Thank you, Gina. I think for the women in Solomon Islands, there's like around 40 to 50 members in the association. Most of them are, some of them are students who have an interest in IT. So they've registered to be part of the association. But as you can see, most of these women, I think it's part of inclusivity as well, inclusive. They have access to the internet as well in various places they have. You can see that we are all volunteering our time on the board in our small groups as well. And then with the board, we are also in PKSOC board. It's an informal network where you know someone, you pull them across, get them to do the job as volunteers as well. And then that has also led to the first regional hackathon that PKSOC has hosted for the Pacific region just recently in October. And Samoa was the winner for that hackathon. And I see Sarai has put up a hand. Sarai, if you can add on.
Thanks, Letitia. Just to add on and comment on and concur what Georgina said, and really, yes, there are lots of women in ICT in other areas, but not really technically in the networking and addressing the numbers. As going back to what I said before, yes, there are 14 women fully members of our Samoa IT Association, including myself. But we have more women, about 20, they are affiliated and associated members, meaning that they're not fully met the criteria to become Samoa IT Association member, because we have a specific criteria for them to fulfill. The main reason is that the work of years of experience, because they need to say 5 years work experience before become a full member plus your qualification. But yes, there are lots of women working in IT field, like data analysts, IT support, but they're not fully members of our association. But and also I would like to comment, there are more women leading ICT projects, like our own, we have our Professor Joanna Jan, she's our professor in computing studies, and she's leading most of the ICT projects undertaken by the university. So she led most of our projects and also affiliated us with the UNDP. Recently, NUS worked with UNDP to launch the digital library, and that's the first initiative that the government gave to the National University to implement it. So I led the technical team, and Professor Joanna was leading the whole project team. So there's a lot of women that are involved as well. In my team at National University, we have 4 women against 14 men. So, and it's led by me. So I think there's no, there's no barrier of women to becoming working in ICT field. And also just to add in the university as well, more lecturers are women. More lecturers in computing studies are women. And I work closely with them because we provide the technical support for them. That's my 2 cents, Letty, on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And I have Teresa.
Yes, thank you. Just maybe also to mention, it's great to hear about the initiatives locally. The GFC is also looking at how are women from small developing countries represented in global negotiations on digital policy, internet governance, and similar. And for that, we have the it's called Women in International Security and Cyberspace Fellowship Program, which, for instance, takes females, ladies from underrepresented countries in negotiations such as the United Nations Open-Ended Working Group and similar, and brings them there and prepares very tailored activities to participate in these programs. We will actually be leading these efforts from the Pacific. So I do hope that this will also bring much more opportunities for women from Pacific Island states to go international and represent their countries in global fora.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I think we're almost about finished. So I'll just go around the panelists and just ask you to say your last few words of advice. So if you have any last comments to say before we wrap up. So I'll start with Teresa.
Well, thank you very much. You've done an excellent job, and my wish maybe for this session is that we meet in a year's time at another SIDS-IGF and can discuss about the progress made. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Winifred, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
No. Yeah, okay, all right, great. Just the last message. Thank you for this opportunity again for the first SIDS and being able to kind of talk from a local perspective on access, connectivity, and some of the opportunities. And I'd like to encourage more women and girls to take up ICT. For those youths that are listening in, for the last 20 years, I've really enjoyed being in the industry, and every 5 years the technology changes. So I think it's something that is always changing, and you always keep yourself relevant. So always stay curious. I think that's something that I'd like to leave with our youths, is always be curious. The internet is there. There's so much opportunities that you can learn from and create things for yourself as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Winnie. Georgina?
Echoing the same sentiments with all the panelists here, I just advise the youth to stay passionate and be curious. Make sure that you take charge of your career, and when you love IT, it becomes a passion that you decide to go into areas and try and discover new things, because that's something that will reward you personally, but then at the same time, you'll probably be breaking barriers. So I think us being here, and I'm very thankful for the CTU for having this platform to share with SIDS and making sure that we come together as women from the region to push the topics that are really important to us. And on that note, I think just advocating for partnerships with you all. If you have any thoughts or any suggestions towards digital health and how we can strengthen that area as well, I'm looking forward to it and welcoming you with open arms. And if you're ever in Fiji, please come by for a visit. Take care.
Thank you, Gina. Sarai?
Thanks, Letitia. As our main topic for today is connectivity and access. So we need more than connectivity. So we need more collaboration, because that is more crucial between government and private sector. And then we created holistic strategies to overcome all these barriers, especially with the school connectivity. So digital inclusion is also about more than just access. So connectivity is not only accessible, but it's also affordable. And that is our main goal every day, us as ICT supporting the education sector, both lecturers, students, and even the stakeholders. So that's at the back of our mind. It has to be accessible, it has to be available, has to be secure and affordable. So the more collaboration, I'd like to see more this in the future, and I want other women in the Pacific to come and share their stories like we did today. And they have probably they have different stories and different experiences that that enlighten some of us here. So yeah, more collaboration, more engagement with us here, relevant fields, to give them another light, give them another, there's another fruitful for them to grow, and encourage more girls and women in ICT, because don't give up, never give up with these new changes coming. We need to go with the flow. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you, CTU, for inviting us to speak in this SIDS-IGF first ever that being introduced to.
Thank you, Sarai. Okay, so the key takeaways from today's session for me was capacity building, encouraging more girls, youth to build skill sets within our SIDS region, parents to also look at prioritizing children's online education, and involving stakeholders on the use of devices to access education. This involves both people and technology, and advocating for inclusivity. And as we also heard from previous sessions from Riad, connectivity is crucial for economic development, access of information, opportunities, and service delivery. As in my opening statement, universal and meaningful connectivity is defined as the possibility for everyone to enjoy a safe, satisfying, enriching, productive, and affordable online experience. A big thank you to these wonderful panelists. Thank you to the Caribbean IGF, and thank you to the CTU team for facilitating and hosting this first SIDS-IGF, where we can come, share, and learn from each other on internet governance priorities for ICT-driven development. Thank you, Tomas. I'll now hand it back to Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to our wonderful panelists for representing for the ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the inaugural SIDS-IGF. It has been an impactful and informative few days filled with rich discussions on the Caribbean IGF, the Caribbean Youth IGF, and the SIDS-IGF. It has indeed been my pleasure to be your host over the past few days. I truly enjoyed being a part of it and also entertaining you with my stale jokes. I'd like to especially thank the CTU for having me. I'm DJ Anna, and I will now like to invite Mr. Nigel Cassimire of the CTU and Letitia Masaea from Fiji to wrap up and deliver some closing remarks. Thank you guys so much.
Coming back to you. Yes, thank you, Anna. On behalf of the CTU, I'd just like to give a few impressions of, how I felt things went. I'm also speaking on behalf of the Secretary General, Mr. Rodney Taylor, who could not be with us here today. But definitely what we sought to do from the outset was, in terms of the CIGF itself, and also because of its collaboration with this new first SIDS-IGF, we sought to bring a more youthful look and energy to the proceedings. Not just graybeards talking technical and very important stuff. So I think and I hope that you find that we've been able to do that, and we've also had the benefit of new staff from the CTU, from the CTU Secretariat itself, doing making contributions and basically taking us along. We've seen over the 3 days the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. We've seen the Caribbean Youth Internet Governance Forum, and whereas before we might have had specific youth sessions, youth themed sessions in the CIGF before, this is the first time we've actually branded a full youth IGF forum. And I think that our youth did not fail us. I think that they did us quite proud, and they also made some other interventions that I think have added value to the entire proceedings. As far as the first SIDS-IGF is concerned, I think I certainly benefited greatly from hearing and sharing with the SIDS personnel from other parts of the world, the Pacific in particular, and working with them as well in terms of organizing the whole event. We heard and got some, I think, quite good advice as well from the presenters from the Indian Ocean region. And a couple of those points I'll just review in a short while. I want to convey the thanks of the CTU to all who contributed to the work and the proceedings over these 3 days. I'd like to single out the organizing committee, and in particular, we had some faithful assistance from the Pacific. Several of the presenters today were part of the organizing committee for the first SIDS-IGF. All the panelists, and we had panelists from the Caribbean, we had panelists from the Americas, from Europe, from the Indian Ocean region, from Asia, from the Pacific, of course, and from even Australia. today. We also say thanks to our partners who helped us in different ways to put together the whole program, including all the Caribbean internet organizations. We tend to call them like the usual suspects, the ICANN, ARIN, LACNIC, and ISOC. The Caribbean representatives are frequent and valued partners of the CTU. The ITU and the TTMAG, the Trinidad and Tobago Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group. Again, a special thanks to our youth participants, and I cannot forget my CTU production team, all our staff and organizers, logistics, and Karen, and all the AV team who have kept us going in this studio and organizing all the AV associated with it. A few points that I would take away from all that has happened. I think, and a few points, a few takeaways and follow-ups for us at the CTU Secretariat. One is in terms of, and this is from the CIGF, in terms of revitalizing our online forum. We have a facility on the CTU website whereby we can manage online discussion fora, and our intention is to utilize that facility to progress the work associated with updating the Caribbean Internet Governance Policy Framework. We've invited persons to register, and we have had some persons register, and we will take the responsibility of ensuring that your registration is not in vain, essentially, by making sure that there is good, interesting stuff going on that website. Other takeaways, I mean, content or content development has been one of the priority areas for us in the Caribbean. But I think we learned a little bit more from your experience, Anna, and with respect to trying to monetize the content that you produce. And coming out of that, I think, is some follow-up actions for us to pursue with the policymakers at the various levels, whether it's governmental or corporate, to see what we can do that might open doors for Caribbean content creators to basically make a living, which is what we really want to do, and get Caribbean content more out on the internet. So there is definitely a role for CTU in facilitating solutions to those obstacles. This was, I think, the minister from Tuvalu or Vanuatu, I think it was Vanuatu, who mentioned their it could be, I don't recall exactly, their project to create a digital twin as a public good, and basically as a means of preserving the cultural identity of these low-lying countries who are threatened by climate change, and aren't we all, as small island developing states? So that I take in the realm of digital content creation again, and local content creation, and but that one is with a specific purpose in mind. What else we learned from the SIDS-IGF is that we should work to leverage the SIDS-IGF, these initial linkages that we've made, basically to enhance the engagement and sharing among the SIDS. So we each have our own expertise and experiences, and the fact that we can share those, I think we'll find certain things that maybe are transferable from one SIDS to the other. And such solutions, I think, could be of common benefit. We'll be searching for opportunities as well to coordinate advocacy for SIDS concerning access, connectivity, and inclusion, which was the subject of this last panel. And we heard some personal testimonies as regards the benefits to lives that such access and inclusion could have. Our one of our keynote speakers this afternoon highlighted the various challenges associated with access and inclusion in SIDS, not least of which is affordability. So I think he gave us some very good advice that we should pool our advocacy resources or coordinate our advocacy as SIDS in the global fora. And we have opportunities to do so, as we heard yesterday from the UN envoy, who mentioned that they're working on this global digital compact, and they are requesting inputs from across the globe. And there's an opportunity for SIDS to make their specific interests known and taken account of in the creation of this global digital compact. Those are basically some of the points that I noted, Anna. I think it was a worthwhile 3 days. We've made progress in terms of the Caribbean and priorities, and we've learned a lot as well from the more general SIDS engagements. And I hope that the other participants from other parts of the world would feel the same way. So I don't know if we could get some final impressions as well from the Pacific, from Letitia.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Mr. Cassimire. Yeah, we'd love to hear from Ms. Masaea.
It has been an exciting 3 days journey of connecting, learning, and sharing experiences and updates on internet governance, priorities for ICT-driven development from the Caribbean down to the Pacific. There were great presentations from everyone, and we thank you all for accepting the invite to be part of this event. The Caribbean Youth IGF was a highlight, a bonus for the Pacific Islands chapter of the Internet Society, who are also planning a mini IGF targeting youth, which will be our first of its kind in the Pacific region. Sincere thank you to honorable ministers who spared busy schedules to be part of our event, including Honorable Minister Simon Kofe, who was also the SIDS-IGF keynote speaker. Special thanks to our special guests, the moderators, esteemed speakers, our amazing event host, DJ Anna, and all the Pacific and Caribbean participants who connected to be part of this event. We'd also like to acknowledge the sponsors of this event. Thank you so much for seeing the importance of hosting such events. We are grateful to be sharing this event with the Caribbean IGF and the Caribbean Youth IGF, and we sincerely want to thank Rodney, Nigel, and the Caribbean Telecommunications Union team for recognizing the importance of collaborating with the SIDS, facilitating and sponsoring this event, marking a milestone in the history of SIDS-IGF. We are extending our invitation to you and the team to our Pacific IGF event next year. We thank you for having us this year, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors and plans in addressing internet governance, issues, and priorities. Let's keep collaborating and stay connected. Thank you. Over to you, Anna.
Wow, what a wonderful 3 days it has been. But before you go, we invite you to register for the CTU ICT Week 2022. It's happening in the Bahamas, and it's actually going to be happening from the 5th to the 9th of September. All you have to do is visit the website www.ctu.int for more information. Thank you guys so much once again for joining us. Until next time, I'm DJ Anna. Have a great one, guys.